Hi, APUSH Nation. This is Mr. O'Hagan, and welcome to this edition of Content Spotlight, where we highlight a specific historical topic within one of our units, explain its importance, and identify its broader historical connections and implications. Today on the Spotlight, Ralph Waldo Emerson's American Scholar speech. Let's start with some context. The 18 teens through the 1840s are often referred to as the Jacksonian era. A better term would be the era of the common man, as it's during this time that the average person seems to be getting more opportunities and more control over their life, their political life, their economic life, as we'll see in our next unit covering the so-called market revolution, and their religious life, as we cover in this unit's Second Great Awakening. And this new life that is being created is a distinctly American way of life. Americans had always seen themselves as something other than European, but it's during this era that they start to become American. And that's where Emerson fits in. On August 31st, 1837, Ralph Waldo Emerson gave a speech in Cambridge, Massachusetts, entitled The American Scholar. 60 years after declaring independence, American culture was still heavily influenced by European traditions, and Emerson, for probably the first time in the country's history, provided a visionary philosophical framework for escaping from under Europe's, as he called it, iron lids, and building a new, distinctly American cultural identity. Sorry about that. This excerpt represents Emerson's vision. The scholar is that man who must take up into himself all the ability of the time, all the contributions of the past, all the hopes of the future. He must be a university of knowledges. If there be one lesson more than any other that should pierce his ear, it is: the world is nothing. The man is all. In yourself is the law of all nature. And you know not yet how a globule of sap ascends. In yourself slumbers the whole of reason. We have listened too long to the courtly muses of Europe. The spirit of the American freeman is already suspected to be timid, imitative, tame. Public and private avarice make the air we breathe thick and fat. What is the remedy? We will walk on our own feet. We will work with our own hands. We will speak our own minds. Then shall man be no longer a name for pity or for doubt. And as we can see, that motivation to have a distinctly American character is going to inspire others in literature and in art. In the art world, for example, we see Emerson's call to arms answered by the Hudson River School of Artists. These particularly American and New York-inspired landscapes, as the name suggests, celebrated the natural beauty of the United States, and especially of upstate New York. Art historians have commented that the style does seem to mimic European painters to some degree, but the subject is wholly American. You see this work, View from Mount Holyoke, in 1836 by artist Thomas Cole in this slide. Likewise, in literature, authors such as Edgar Allan Poe was writing short stories that explore previously hidden levels of human psychology and push the boundaries of fiction toward mystery and fantasy. Augustus Baldwin Longstreet, Johnson J. Hooper, and George Washington Harris wrote about the American frontier. Emerson's fellow transcendentalist, Henry David Thoreau, wrote Walden in 1854, a memoir that urges resistance to the dictates of society and demonstrates a strong tendency towards individualism. And Herman Melville writes the quintessential American classic in 1851 called Moby Dick. All of these works present life with a uniquely American spin. So let's think about our historical theme. Emerson is like the title character of the Deadpool movies, breaking through that fourth wall and talking directly to us, the historical audience. Think how clearly he highlights the themes of American and national identity, and American and regional culture. Connecting Emerson to a later time, think about artists and creative minds like Mark Twain, Ernest Hemingway, Charlie Chaplin, Norman Rockwell, Bob Dylan. They too answer that call to present something to the world that is American in style and experience. College Board would call that reasoning, my friends. Thanks for joining us for this Content Spotlight. Don't forget to use this YouTube channel for unit reviews, content spotlights like this one, writing workshops, and of course, APUSH on the road segments. We'll see you again soon on the Content Spotlight.